Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, I just want to start by saying thank you so much. I know we're starting a few minutes late, but I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time this afternoon. I know that it's a Saturday and it's late where you're at, Khadijah, so we do appreciate you giving us your time. I just want to start by doing a brief introduction of both of you, and then I'll let you both talk about a little bit of what you do and kind of what your work is, and just let you know the session is being recorded, so we will be able to play this back and share this with folks after the session.
Okay.
So I want to start by introducing Khadijah. Khadijah Robinson, she's the owner and founder of Nile. And Nile is a Black business directory and resource community where Black-owned businesses can connect with each other, offer up their service up their products and their service and products to a broader audience. So she is the founder of that. Not only that, but she studied at the University College of London and has earned a JD from Harvard Law School. Has practiced law in Washington, D.C. for the last 4 years. But her endeavors have taken her to found the Nihilists. So thank you so much for being here. And then I'm also going to introduce Tahara Chapman, and she's a serial entrepreneur. She's local to Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, sorry, local to Hartford, Connecticut. And she has also started several divisions of LLC holdings, and she's also the founder of the, I'm saying this wrong, the High Maintenance Boutique here in Hartford, Connecticut. So I'm going to let you both speak to a little bit more about your experience, what you've done, and kind of where you're at right now. But I'm going to start and lead this off and let Khadijah tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're working on these days.
Sure. So as Markiesha said, I'm Khadijah. I'm the founder of Nile at thenihilist.com. And Nile is a digital platform connecting consumers with Black-owned brands online. So we focus solely on e-commerce brands. We wanted to make sure that all of the businesses on our platform were really accessible to anyone who came to our platform looking to support Black-owned businesses, which is why we focus solely on those businesses that offer online shopping. And we launched on March 1st, 2020. So we're very nascent and launched just in time for the world to go completely left. And it has been interesting, but also really extraordinary because the journey to starting Nile and really even conceptualizing it, I encountered a lot of people who would ask, like, why the focus on Black-owned businesses and why not minority-owned businesses in general? Or, is this something that people are really that interested in to justify launching this platform? And it's been very interesting to see the way that people have really started to pay much more attention to shopping Black, buying with Black-owned businesses, and thinking about that in relation to the larger effort to really support Black lives, and just seeing where we started in March, which seems like so long ago, but also it was like just 5 seconds ago, and where we are now. And just to give a little bit of an idea of that, when our first month of launch, we had 1,600 users come to the site, which I thought was amazing. So I'm like, oh, wow, 1,600 people came to the site that I built. That's cool. And then in July, we had almost 85,000 people visit our site. So we've just seen such an increase in interest and in people who are really trying to figure out how they can really consistently support the Black community when they're not protesting. And of course, we're voting, but that only happens every so often. So, looking for ways that people can really make an impact on a daily basis and can impact in terms of the things that they already do. And I like to call it like conscientious shopping or consumer activism, which a lot more people are becoming much more familiar with. So we're really happy to be part of that journey for people. And I have really enjoyed just meeting all of these business owners and building the opportunities that we have been able to build with this platform for the business owners that we support. And really making the brands much more accessible to people who wouldn't have heard about them otherwise. And so I always have people who are like, where'd you get that head wrap? And I'm like, let me tell you, one of these businesses like L'Occitane, they're on now. Or people are like, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And it's just been so exciting to be able to refer people to Black-owned businesses that are making everything from the natural hair stuff that we, might think about naturally when we think about Black-owned businesses to literally like cell phones. I just bought a cell phone 2 weeks ago from a Black-owned company that produces their own cell phones. I talked to basically everybody that I've said that to has been like, what? Really? Like they had no idea that that existed. So really just being able to make those connections for people and to highlight businesses that deserve the shine but haven't been getting it. It's really awesome. So I'll stop there. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And also, Tahara, if you want to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself and kind of what you're working on these days and just kind of how you got to what you're doing.
Well, basically, like you said in the introduction, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have my hands in a little bit of everything. First and foremost, I work full time, and I'm literally taking off this next 2 weeks to actually formally and figure out, am I going to go and be a full time entrepreneur because I'm in the position to do that. But first, I have to organize everything. So, just to take a step back, as you indicated, I do own a boutique in Hartford, high maintenance boutique. There we sell women's clothing, we sell women's workout equipment like waist trainers, weight loss kits. We sell like teas and things of that nature, everything women. We sell shoes. We also sell hair mainly. That's what actually really got me started. We sell wigs. We actually sell eyelashes. We put on eyelashes. We do like everything that you can possibly think. We style hair as well. We're just not a full bred salon. We're like you come in and just get your thing done and get you an outfit and you go. But aside to that, what brought me into having a formal location, because ultimately I started out of my house back in 2012. My last little $500 went in, like, I'm going to get into this hair business. But ultimately what it did was it actually helped me understand what we can actually be and how we can form. And it kind of segued all the way back to the beginning of literally us coming from Africa, coming here and actually just building this country on our back. And I started digging deeper into it. It became more than just me selling stuff and just having a great product. And it became to me wanting to create more and to be branding generational wealth, because a lot of the products that we utilize and that we created came from Black individuals, Black women. Young Madam C.J. Walker is one individual who, we see that from. So I started researching individuals like that and just took it to a broader stream and saying, it's time for us to actually brand more Black women because we are the basis around everything. So overall, the Black community, but most importantly, Black women. So I ended up, being a successor in selling hair. And then I said, all right, everyone's like, get a physical location. I finally got a physical location. Actually, the 17th, it'll be 3 years in my physical location. Thank God. From there, I remember me saying 3 years ago that, you guys can do exactly what I'm doing. You just have to plan, prepare. There are steps, be patient, being persistent. And look, 3 years later, you see all of these flourishing women entrepreneurs, from selling, like she said, hair wraps to skincare, to hair, to clothes. Like, we are doing it right now. And this is the actual direction that I wanted. But most importantly, my boutique is a hub for us to actually gather and get together and realize that it's just beyond selling. And that's where my real estate and my credit repair and my business consulting comes in. A lot of people didn't know anything about an SBA until COVID hit. I speak to so many individuals who knew not to even really, what is an LLC? How do I get my business form? Literally right to COVID hit. So many people had plans of becoming entrepreneurs during this time, utilizing their income tax. Well, COVID hit. We got stimulus checks. We got all these different packages. People started busting out these businesses, but nobody was doing it right. So now the direction that I'm preparing to go to is what I've always wanted to go into, the general wealth, creating more and showing you how you actually need to be on paper, solidified, what you can, the resources that you can obtain, and things of that nature. So those are the things that I'm currently working on, expanding outside of my boutique and me actually doing real estate. I'm also in the process of investing, actually finishing my first flip. Sometime this week, I should actually be putting it on the market. So more to come with that, but I'm literally segueing. And like she said, COVID actually came, it was a problem, but it actually was the buffer to create something dynamic and to bring about everything that I've been trying to strategically work on over the years to the forefront. So it was a blessing in disguise overall.
Absolutely. And again, like both of you have been doing so much work in terms of building businesses and seeing success during this time period. I mean, COVID has definitely created, as we have a saying, chaos actually creates opportunity, right? And I think the chaos of COVID has created so many opportunities for folks. And to that same effect, it's how do we do the right thing? How do we know what the right thing is to do given this time? Because yes, I have this really great idea, but how do I turn that into an actual tangible thing? And so Khadijah, as you've kind of navigated the space and have built Nile, I think that you've kind of talked about it being serendipitous in the sense that it just happened at the right time, but you've still begun to see it grow. So as you've kind of overcome some of those hurdles, growing very fast is not always a good thing, right? Sometimes that comes with its own hurdles. So talking about the ugly truth of that, like how has the growth and the scale of Nile kind of been a little difficult to manage?
Yes, I think every entrepreneur can tell you it can be, it's so exciting to see, so much interest, but with so many Black entrepreneurs in particular, you have heard the same thing over and over from people who are being inundated by orders from folks who want to support them and want to buy with them and want to feel like they're supporting Black entrepreneurs. But you're going from a capacity that's here to produce to here in like a week. And that comes with so many logistical challenges, especially for people who are producing products. For us, what I've seen is our site going from 2,000 visitors to 80,000 visitors, and the load time is slowing down, or this part of the site might go down and not be working, and folks are getting frustrated. Like, I want to use this part, I want to submit my business, but I can't. I keep getting an error message, and you deal with those things. And you have to deal with them with grace and actually deal with them head on, and not let things fester, respond as quickly as possible. But then if you are only one person, which is the case for a lot of small Black owned businesses, then you have so many different things that you have to pay attention to. You have to pay attention to products and shipping them and responding to customers and doing marketing and all of these things. So you're wearing so many hats, and managing your time and doing everything that you need to do in order to make sure that your business is flourishing and that you're providing a good experience for customers can be really, really difficult. And I think it has given me so much perspective, particularly in this, when it comes to Black owned businesses, because a lot of times people will talk about customer service at Black owned businesses, and it automatically gets real negative. The conversation gets very negative, and people, I think, have a tendency, I think we as a community sometimes have a tendency to be harder on ourselves. And it's part of that conversation, like we have to be 2 times better to get the same thing. And, we recognize that going out into the world, but then we internalize that with one another. And so where we have, a couple of negative experiences with a couple of Black businesses, we then extrapolate that to all Black businesses. And we'll then be like, I try to support Black businesses, but I went into the Jamaican restaurant and they had an attitude and the oxtail ran out. And I'm like, well, first of all, the oxtail always runs out at the Jamaican restaurant. Always. That's that on that. But I am, I think, very cognizant of the fact that we have negative experiences at other places that we might not react to the same way. So when I go to, like whatever dollar store, and people in the aisles are a mess, and the customers, there's like one person working in there, they don't know where anything is, and they don't have my time to even try to help me find anything, then like that doesn't deter me from going back to the dollar store. I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is. I know the customer service ain't gonna be great. I still need to get my stuff from the dollar store. And I sometimes look at it as an I think I've come to look at it as an opportunity to really give that constructive feedback and have a little bit of grace, because we don't really know as a consumer a lot of times everything that goes into bringing that product to you. And so we might not know that if we go into the store and this business owner has like what seems like a little attitude and they're not running to help us, that they've been on the phone for 3 hours with UPS who lost their shipment and now they have to eat that cost, and their vendor was supposed to supply them with boxes for their products and they've decided that they were going to deprioritize their order because it's small, and some big business ordered way more, so now they don't have any boxes and they can't send anything, and you just have so many frustrations. You're always troubleshooting. It's literally, we launched on March 1st, the platform, and 2 weeks before that, first of all, I cried basically every day in February, just flat out like tears. At one point, I was literally just sitting on my bathroom floor and I was just crying. And I was like, why me? Why? Why did I even think I was going to build a platform? Who did I think I was? And I'm like, you know what? We just got to push back the launch. Like, it's not going to work. And I was feeling so much pressure. I had planned this launch event. I had hundreds of RSVPs to our launch event, and I had no website. Like, the website didn't even exist at that point. There was all kinds of things that weren't there. I was like, we're launching this with thousands of businesses in our directory, and we had uploaded like 400 at that point. And I was like, just going through it. And of course, when people come to the launch party, they don't see that. They see, wow, this is such a cool platform. And oh my God, everything looks so professional, or that's what you want them to see. So there's oftentimes a lot that goes into it. And I think particularly for entrepreneurs like us who might not have the network that we can tap into to get all of these answers from people who have been doing this for a long time. And we don't have the resources from our family and friends who can just be like, oh, you want to start a business? Here's $100,000. Having a little bit of grace is so key.
Absolutely. And so thinking about that as well, I know, Tahara, part of this, and this is part of your expertise here, is funding, right? And financing, and making sure that you know how to get money made available to you so that you can build and start a business and return a profit on that. So some part of it is, one, to Khadijah, what you do is focus on, once you're online, let's get some more eyeballs to you and help you kind of grow and scale. But then also, Tahara, it's figuring out, okay, well, what are my funding opportunities? Where can I get money from to build this business? It's a great idea, but it's not that great if I can't get it funded, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about like what your experience has been in terms of securing funding and understanding that whole process?
Well, it's definitely a process, because ultimately I think a lot of people, start businesses with their own personal finances. And that's a major no-no. Unless you're totally vested, unless you have, individuals that have left you money, family members who invest in you, things of that nature. But I think a lot of people hit the ground running with, a couple of bucks, and, some leftover money somewhere, something like that. But really, that's not even the case. It's all about structure and planning. And I've seen a lot of that during this COVID situation. Individuals came across some extra dollars and it's like, all right, I'm going to order me a vendor list. I've seen somebody selling it. I'm just going to sell some stuff. But that's really not the way to actually be in business, a small business for forever, a future small business for forever. And that's really what it's about. And I think the best way to go about it is really securing your personal finances. That's great. But you also have to build your personal credit, which actually has a spin-off onto your business credit. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, business credit, what's that? A lot of people don't know what business credit is. Like I said earlier, a lot of people knew nothing about an SBA. Some people didn't even know what grants were and that they existed. All of this stuff was here before COVID, but you tapped into it at a time where they made it available to you. And then you need to understand why they made it available to us, because right now the world needs us, or needs us to depend on their finances to keep going. So it's a domino effect of understanding the economy overall, and then understanding how you affect the economy, what's available to you within the economy, and how to pull it apart and get it to you in the economy. But it's all about structure, and you can have an idea all you want, but if you can't formulate the funding and understand where this idea can actually lead you overall and create something for, generations down the road, what's the point of even evolving and trying to get it started? And taking your time to actually get it started is also key.
Yeah, and to piggyback right off of that, just thinking about, because we had a session earlier today talking about your personal finances and kind of building that up, and then getting your own credit right, and then how that catapults into everything. And I think in an instance, right, where people who were once employed prior to COVID hit, now you're unemployed, and now you're like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to take my business idea and turn it into something. But oh wait, I don't qualify because my credit is bad. My finances are bad. I can't. What is business credit again, right? So it's all of these things that start to get in the way. But I think the important thing for our community is, like, yes, all of those things may be true, but at the end of the day, we still have the hope of a mustard seed, and we'll find a way to get it done. And so kind of in tangent to that, going back to you, Khadijah, thinking along those lines of, like, a lot of people, this is their last hope. They have to start a business because there's some type of way they got to get the money coming in. Are there any, like, quick, dirty tricks that you have or tips that you have where people can kind of just start getting something that's going to help you latch on and keep growing, even if it's before you can repair your credit or get that business line of credit?
Unfortunately, no. I hate to say it, it's really not. And the sad truth about it is that this is something that should have been implemented in our schools, how to educate our children on financing, what credit is, and because they can actually build their credit up way before. I mean, you can actually, it stems way back. From insurance policies, you can actually create generational wealth from that. You get insurance policies on children at a young age, get the Gerber Grow Up plan at the age of 18, you can pull out money and borrow against that. Their college is paid. So again, it's more of a knowledge basis thing and just really planning and building. But the great thing about it is it's never too late to start. And the quicker you start, the better you off become. And right now is the greatest time to get started because the economy is about to go in so many different directions. But if you're in position, you can play. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely. And so, Khadijah, thinking about the businesses that you support and thinking about Nile, how are you seeing businesses take advantage of the opportunities that have presented themselves due to COVID?
I think right now is a time for partnerships for a lot of people. It is for us very much so. And this we're talking partnerships with plenty of organizations, including yours, and that is for organizations that are founded and led by us, as well as other organizations, corporations, and entities that are looking to really put their name and their money behind helping to accelerate us. And I think that a lot of folks are taking advantage of that real drive right now for entities across the board to really collaborate and partner in order to steer money their way, steer resources their way, steer publicity and brand awareness, and to really improve their business, because it is, like I said, there are so many businesses that are seeing this influx of interest and this big jump in demand. And they not only need to be able to keep up with that, but they want to grow and become, grow and scale in the same way that we've seen other businesses. So, for example, you have a Black and Bold Coffee, which is, an e-commerce brand. They sell coffee all over the place. They've gotten on shelves recently in different major retailers. And in my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, now is definitely the time to make sure you're pushing, building out your network, getting your brand onto different shelves. And why can't Black and Bold Coffee, which is Black owned, become as ubiquitous as like a Green Mountain and be as out there? And so I think that is the focus for a lot of brands right now, like getting themselves more out there, getting that awareness and having more people know about them to buy them, but then also partnering and building on the back end so that they can really support and sustain that growth and grow, get better, and do more. I think a lot of people are also figuring out not just how to focus on their business and growing themselves, but how to reach back, which is what we always do as a community. One of the reasons why I really love us and I love us as business owners is because I think when you look at Black entrepreneurs, a lot of us are just so socially conscious and we're so conscious of what we're producing, whether it's from an environmental standpoint, whether it's from a health standpoint. We want to make the products that people can enjoy and that are healthy and good for them, and or charitable standpoint. A lot of people are saying, I'm donating my proceeds and I'm doing this and I'm, helping fund this organization. So I think there's um, a lot of strategic partnerships being formed right now. And that's really one trend I've seen really, really, really skyrocket in the last several months.
Absolutely. And so thinking also, because I think part of figuring out what the next step should be in forming those partnerships is it's having a plan and setting a goal for that, right? I think a lot of the times when your business scales, especially in this time, Black-owned businesses, they're growing so fast. It's like, wow, I had a goal that was supposed to happen 12 months from now, but it happened 3 months ago, right? So it's setting those. So how do you guys, both of you, as you're navigating your separate streams of life, like goal setting and goal planning, how are you managing that, especially when nobody's here to hold you accountable? Like, if you don't do it, it doesn't hurt anybody but you, right? So how do you manage that? And I'll have Tahara lead that one if you.
Well, first, I personally think that it's most important to negate what's first. What's most important? Once you are able to structure most important, then you can do your pros and cons from that of how you're going to go about what's most important in getting that activated. And then you'll be able to segue into everything else. And usually, what happens, I know what I've seen happen is if an idea that I have that's most important, I'll caveat it off the second idea. It is kind of one and the same. So, and you're kind of interchangeably connecting what goes next. And I think that's most important because you don't want to be like, for example, okay, I know ultimately my goal was creating generational wealth, right? But I needed to get the attention of individuals to come in my shop, to form that relationship, to build that. What's the best way to do it amongst women? Shopping, you know what I mean? And then what's our number one thing? Hair, So I've met so many dynamic individuals who not only have I been able to build with where they purchase products from me, I purchase things from them, I speak to them. There's not a time when you've come into my boutique and we, what I call it, have church. When we gossip, we're gossiping about success. We're gossiping about, okay, you, Tahara, I love what you're doing, and this is what I want to do. Okay, well, what you want to do, sis? Because this is what we're going to talk about. What you want to do when you walk out my boutique, you feel like you've purchased life because you have, and that's what it's about. And that was my way of creating that basis of getting everybody in there, getting their goals regulated, formulating conversations amongst one another, giving them that just, if you will, and that due diligence that they needed to bring it out of them. You know what I mean? And see what they had to structure themselves and just start goal setting, and they rub off of me that way, and I help them rub off of them that way as well, and they're able to structure their goals. So I think it's most importantly to divvy up what's most important first, and then from there just gauge on and do also what you like, what's most important as well. Because if you're trying to do something and you really don't like it, you don't know much about it, then you're gonna not take it that serious. So that's important as well.
Right. And then Khadijah, I definitely want you to chime in on that, but we did get a question from the audience, and I think it's worthwhile to give it a shot. So one of our audience members says, in an earlier session, I listened to a discussion about the divergence of racial justice and capitalism and the belief that justice and equity cannot exist under a capitalist system. This belief seems to fly in the face of the entrepreneurial spirit. As successful Black women entrepreneurs, do you have any opinions on this? So Khadijah, I'll let you lead with that, and then Tahara, you can come back in.
Well, I'm very happy for this question, actually, because I tend to think that American capitalism is completely evil and it's just such a corrupt system. So whoever said that, it's hard to argue with it. I think that we have a system that's not going anywhere for a long time, I think. And I do think that one of the reasons why there has been so much tension between the way that the Black community has grown and operated and the way that general American society operates is because the Black community is so prone to group economics and community economics. And that is so foreign to the way that America is set up. And you see that even when we're operating in this capitalist system and we're starting these endeavors and we are, really trying to forward our own businesses, going back to what I was talking about earlier, we see that so many of our businesses and our efforts are aimed at helping other businesses and entrepreneurs build and scale and grow and flourish, and also reinvesting in our communities. And so much of it is about that group economics. So much of it is about building our communities. So much of it is about giving to organizations that are working within our communities and hiring people within our communities to make sure that they have jobs. And Black-owned businesses have been so crucial in our communities when they're close to the community and when they are really intact in step with them in terms of generating employment and rejuvenating areas that have been forgotten by like the larger regular capitalist society. And yet, and still, I do think that there is some tension there. And I actually had such an interesting conversation not that long ago when with someone who was talking about someone who was being elevated to billionaire status. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And they were like, don't you want like more Black billionaires? I was like, no. What does that do for us? Like, I don't do anything for anybody except that billionaire. And they're like, talking about charitable efforts and all that stuff. And I'm like, nah. The things that you have to do to participate in this capitalist system to get to that billionaire status are, they're so tied with this system that is so inherently racist that it's not going to be beneficial to the majority of Black folks. And that's one of the reasons why I really am excited about our platform and how many small businesses we support, because a lot of people are doing this because they love the products that they're making, they love the things that they're doing, and they want to offer people things that products that almost fly in the face of capitalism. They're not filled with a whole bunch of fillers that are just cheap inputs that are gonna mass produce something that they can sell for cheap and make a lot of money on. And then that goes back to, folks looking at products and saying, well, I want to support Black businesses, but all the prices are so high. And, sometimes you got to pay a little bit more when it's not being like produced by slave labor or filled with like all kinds of chemicals that are harmful. And I think as entrepreneurs, we think a lot about that in the Black entrepreneur community. And you find that so many people are thinking about the environment, are thinking about people's health, are thinking about making products with love, are thinking about their participation in their communities in ways that aren't really privileged a lot in our capitalist system. So I think there are some inherent tensions, but I do think that that now and for really forever, like Black folks have been so in tune with community and with group economics and viewing entrepreneurship not just as furthering ourselves, but as furthering those around us, that there is a bit of a different conversation. And I actually would love to see like our system in general borrow more from the way that Black entrepreneurs tend to operate.
Absolutely. And I think kind of going back to the question as well, capitalism is in the way that we distribute our wealth. It does oftentimes fall at top and the rest of us suffer. And I think we use entrepreneurship as a means of trying to get ourselves out of poverty, trying to get ourselves out of our current situation. And it's not because, I mean, oftentimes we don't even know how high we can go, right? Because we see all these celebrities or these billionaires, millionaires, and they've got all this wealth. And to us, it seems like, how are we going to even get to that? I just want to get from here to there. I can't even see that far. So once we get there, it's like it blows our mind. So Tahara, I know with you, you've been able to be a serial entrepreneur. You're working on so many different things. Like you said, you're considering, is this what I want to do for full time? And so making the transition from having someone working so hard behind the scenes, again, just trying to get from one point to the next point to the next point, to get yourself out of a situation or to build something that you want for yourself that maybe you've never had before. How do you think that plays into this? Because looking at the system today, like it wasn't built for us, but we're finding a way, right?
We built the structure for them to build the capitalism, if you will, which actually isn't working for them, because we do so much business right now with countries we do so much business with countries that are not capitalist, and guess what? They're shutting us out right now because the number one capitalist country can't contain a virus. The number one, so we really look stupid right now as a whole, as Americans. So to be honest, like you just said, to piggyback off of what you said, this is a time for us to come in and to create. And I think the problem is we're not educated. We all can be in this game. We all can be private investors. We all can own, but we're not educated enough. Again, we built the structure for them to have the plantations, and we were the ones who built all of this. But now we have to get educated enough to figure out how they did it. What did they do about it? Again, a lot of these wealthy people got their money from insurance. That's the number one way. It's all about generational wealth, creating something that can last and that you can piggyback off of. So again, you do have some Black wealthy billionaires, and you're right. I don't care if they're a billionaire. I'm trying to be a billionaire like them, because you know what? That billionaire they're creating is a line for everyone in their family to eat behind them. So how do I tap into that? And that's where a person like me come in. Well, I'm going to be out there researching and finding ways for us to create generational wealth. The monies we can borrow from individuals who want to invest in you. You have a bunch of wealthy individuals out in Silicon Valley who love Black people and know what we're capable of and who are waiting to invest in us. So you'll have someone like me who's going out to meet with these individuals to see, what are you looking for? You have Black individuals who can create all types of high-tech companies, apps, and everything, but we have to pull that out of these individuals, show them to these investors, and these investors have pools of money and they want to invest in us. But we have to present ourselves, find these people, find these investors, get ourselves to show them that, hey, I've created my LLC. I've gotten my personal credit right. I have my business credit. I've even tapped into some funding from SBA, but that's not enough. I need somebody like you at a billionaire level to develop, and somebody like me to bring me and my people out of it. And you have those people. And that's what these capitalist individuals are afraid of right now. Why do you think they're taking so long to, or you can't even really say taking so long, but they've been so conscious of the production and profit and by private means that they didn't even see that the small people were coming behind them. And it's our time, and it's our token time, if you will. It's it. And they're doing whatever they can to slow it down and to make it a way that we need them. That's why you have all of this. Now they're giving away SBA loans. I didn't take any of those SBA loans. All the money that I've recently got was grants, money I do not have to pay back. And I'm trying to educate everybody around here that I've talked to, like, okay, Tahara, so what did you get? I said, they offered me money, but I don't care if it was at 1%. I know there's other means of money that people want to invest in me. They don't want anything back. All they want to see is me be profitable, to eat, and to keep duplicating what I'm doing, and to create more people like me, and to bring more people like them, because then they're going to actually make a bigger percentage, because they're going to actually eat off of you from the ground up, not when you actually are making a profit or actually sustaining sustaining the market in your individualized brand. So I think it's there for all of us. We just have to be educated enough to go out there and get it, and stop blaming individuals. Stop pointing the finger. Look at them people. You can be exactly what they are, but you have to understand and become knowledgeable about what's out there and the resource that you can tap into to be just like them.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, we are at time. We're a little bit over, but I wanted to give you both enough time to just talk through some of these things. I mean, this is so important. As a founder myself of a nonprofit, you do have to move and just kind of find what's going to work for you. So I just want to say thank you both for attending today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And if you want to I have your social media links. If you want to drop them off to the panelists, we're going to email them out to everybody anyway. But this is wonderful. And thank you. Thank you so much. And if there's anything else you want to share with us, where they can find you, that would be helpful. We have so many folks who would love to just keep in touch with you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for having us. Thank you for doing this. This has been awesome. Anyone who wants to check out Nile can do so at thenilelist.com, and all our social media is at the Nile List. So we're all over the place, got everything from Twitter to LinkedIn, and we act accordingly. So our Twitter gets a little turned up, but our LinkedIn is real professional, I promise.
Yes. And Tahara, where can folks find you?
Yes, because I do a little bit of everything. So I just have I'm on the Linktree findings. So you can just link me at Linktree linktr.ee/high-maintenance-holdings.com, and everything that I do is there. And then you'll also be able to connect through all of my social media realms as well. And thank you so much for having me. This is a great discussion. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.